Hey, welcome back to the Christian Ambition podcast. So this week's episode is a little different. The last 2 weeks have been kind of crazy. My first time skiing. So instead of a normal episode, I'm dropping something I think you might enjoy. This is a conversation I had with a friend of mine, Max Taylor, over Google Meet. Max graduated from Pensacola Christian College, and like me, he's someone who's trying to figure out how to genuinely serve God through his work and his life. We're just talking. This wasn't even supposed to be a podcast, but about halfway through, I was like, this is really good. So we covered thoughts and ideas I've been thinking about lately. Topics start with AI and then expand to self-education, taking action, seasons of life, personal finance, and a few others. If you're someone who's young, trying to figure things out, or semi-curious about AI or what it means to actually move on your life instead of just thinking about it, I think this one's for you. I would also encourage you to have conversations with people. You might be surprised on how much you can learn, and it also helps clarify your thoughts. All right, here's my conversation with Max Taylor.
I'd love to hear about your AI stuff. And
Sure.
how do you say the N8N? How do you pronounce that?
N810. That's
Okay.
no, like literally the number 8.
So what got you into that? Like, were you looking kind of into that stuff your senior year as well, or has that been more that you've gotten into that since graduating? And
Yeah, since I don't know, September and things like that, was when I was like, I really need to start doing things in creating, because I've been thinking and I've been researching things for too long.
Hmm.
As far as AI, I'm like, well, AI is the future. It's something, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to fix and flip businesses eventually. That's what Tim, who I work for, he's going to be doing that soon. And I'm currently working in one of his startups, but I could easily be adding value in multiple of his businesses. And I'm like, AI, because you can just automate repetitive tasks, and there's really a lot of cool things that you can do with it. I need to learn. What's the best way to learn but do it for real people solving real problems? And so that was why I started the AI agency. Also because I'm like, my work with him, it's kind of dependent on his schedule, and he's like really busy, and this specific startup isn't exactly his like primary focus. And so I'm like, this is good, but I want to stay busy and building my own skills, and build just a revenue stream, just completely independent. So yeah.
What does your like agency do? Does it specialize in providing one?
Yeah. So right now I'm learning and all that stuff. Like everyone says, you should niche down. But I'm like, I don't know who I like to work for yet. And I like eventually, like if I solve this and I create a really good template, then sure I could start selling that template more. For instance, like a lead generation agent for a specific type of industry. I'm like, well, if I finally figure out all the kinks and it works for one client, then I could start selling that. But my main thing that I sell right now is an AI audit. So 2 parts. First, I just meet with a key decision maker. If it's a larger company, I'll meet with like 3 different, that are some of the key employees or something like that. And just trying to find, where are the pain points, where are their manual tasks, where's the data being transferred, repetitive tasks, what are their main workflows, and what are the current tools, what is the loadout right now. And then in between the 2 meetings, I then kind of pull that together, write up a presentation. The second meeting is presenting that to them. A list of their pain points, potential solutions, the ROI, if they were able to automate these, and then just an AI roadmap. And that they can be like, cool, we'll work on this internally, or if they're like, wow, that ROI makes sense. You already know our business. Let's work together. I'm like, cool. And so that's the flow right now. So
Nice. Going out there finding clients.
yeah.
That's really cool. It kind of ties together like a lot of like skills, like you said, kind of developing just like cold outreach and then learning processes for different types of clients that just kind of can amass a database of like the more clients you work with, the more familiar you can become with different processes, and you can even recommend a whole different set of processes to a client that you've seen work.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah,
of,
really
yeah.
being a efficiency part to this business. Like, hey, we're not here to replace people, we're to make them more efficient or more effective. You know, there's like for one instance, maybe a salesperson. Like a salesperson doesn't want to do data entry. But a lot of times after they have, a client meeting and they need to create a proposal, then it's a bunch of like, did I take enough notes to figure out, to create the proposal and then send it? Well, we can automate that stuff. It just pulls the transcript, inputs into the proposal and sends it. And so it allows humans to do what humans do best and let them do the human to human interaction and the value creation themselves. Yeah, just wanting to partner with businesses to help them become more efficient is kind of like the idea, the positioning.
Yeah, I feel like that
So-
is the best like use case for AI going forward. Like I feel like some people are kind of dooming about AI and being like it's gonna go away. And it's like it's not gonna go away. It's also probably not gonna like run everyone out of a job either. It's gonna be, people that can utilize it well, and then like you're saying, focus on what really sets people apart, the face-to-face interaction,
Mhm,
or
mhm.
just the peace of mind for people to know, oh, I can call this person, they're gonna know what to do in this situation, kind of the experience part of the equation. Do you like, to me, not having gotten into it a whole lot,
Yeah.
I mean, basically at this point I use like Chat GPT, Grok, and that's kind of all.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep. Yep.
do you so I'd be curious to know, like, you getting into it, were you like overwhelmed at like how many different tools there are? Or did you kind of take a generalist approach to kind of like testing out like a bunch of things like Claude and I don't even know some of the other names of the others out there?
Gemini, Claude, Perplexity. Yeah. Yes, it can be overwhelming. And so I kind of just stuck with what I started with and got familiar with. And I would try random different things. And in fact, I'm actually gonna be switching away from GPT pretty soon here, just because Gemini
Mhm.
or Claude is probably what I'm gonna move over to.
Mhm.
Gonna work on seeing how I can capture the memory and the chat history and build
The
that and
conversations.
for that and stuff. But it's something that just recently I was like, I think it would be helpful to and fun and cool to like every 3 days do like a mini build using a new tool. Whether that be like a vibe coding tool like Zeit or Lovable, and just, one, it'll be good content, and then also it'll just force myself to figure out exactly where different tools can actually fit in. And there is a lot of resistance to try new things, because you're like, well, it could just be a waste of my time, and I could, whatever, be dropping $17 here and $13 here, and
Right.
but I'm
With
like,
paywalls.
yeah, but I'm like, but that's education. I dropped a whole lot much more money on education to get less, like that's part of
That's
it.
true.
And it's not wasted time. I guess it is. I'm going to come away with knowledge and hopefully more confidence. So that's something I'm going to do. The next 2 weeks are going to be really busy. So probably in March,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to really dive into like just trying to use a new tool every 3 days and trying to make something fun. But yeah, I mean the core thing is the NA10. That's where you're doing a lot of things. I just was watching some videos on Claude bot or Claude code. And that there's some really cool things that it can do too. So it is a lot, just because I'm gonna have to, whatever it is, watch 6 Claude videos and then figure out how to actually run it on whatever it is, by
Yeah.
using a virtual computer and then just playing around with it. And it does take a lot of time. And so setting
True.
aside that time to just play with it. And, a week later, you might look back and say, I have built nothing, but you're now at the stage that you could start building something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something, yeah, so interesting about that is like for me, a big part of the resistance is the monetary factor. But like you're saying, it is an investment. And I guess it seems a little overwhelming when you have so many programs that can probably all do similar things, like what Mantis can do and what Claude can do is probably, I mean, one may do one thing better than the other and whatever. And I haven't gotten into any of the like actual code writing or anything. Like that'd be a whole different thing. But again, it's like you can learn this stuff.
It's the sunk cost fallacy, to where like, well, I just spent all my time learning, Claude code, but all of a sudden there's a new tool, and so like maybe I shouldn't learn it because in 3 months there's going to be an even better tool. And I did that for a long time, and it's like, well, if you don't do anything, nothing happens. So there's that too.
Yeah. Well, and any learning is not going to be wasted, because then you just know maybe more of what could be automated down the road, but then you just kind of have a better understanding of what's going on behind the surface a little bit.
I watched a Alex Hormozi video that was really helpful. It's one of his newer ones, and he's like, the ROI on investing, say, if you earn actually $200 today, then in 50 years over compounding, you also have to calculate that in 50 years your money is worth less than it is today, but it's about 13x return. But if you invest that in learning, so you can have a higher earning potential, it can hit like 50x to 80x. And he's like, the ROI on learning and buying courses, and not you have to do the work obviously, but he's like, it's way higher than anything else. And for many years, he's like, I didn't even have savings. I just put every single dollar I earned into, getting into bigger rooms, hiring people to coach them and things like that. So that's something I literally just watched today. I was like, that's right.
That's a good argument.
It seems like I'm throwing money away, because sometimes you buy a course and it is mid. It doesn't really do anything for you. Or something he was saying is, you might have to build these 3 skills to finally actually see a jump in whatever you're making. And just one course only did 1. And so after that, you're like, I haven't made it to this goal, so it was worthless. Like, no, you just built one of the 3 pieces you need. And so then the next one, still worthless. Third one, all of a sudden that one seems really valuable, but you actually needed all 3 together.
Yeah.
And he was a collector of skills. And so that was a cool way to think about it. I always love how he breaks things down.
Yeah, that guy is so smart.
Yeah.
It is like it's a shift of, like, I think part of the mindset is that, some people want to work in selling a product, and they're content with like, this is my product, this is what I sell. But it's a different mindset when you think of yourself as the product, basically. And it's like, what I know, what I can produce, or what I can, accomplish myself. And I think that's kind of where you get into like the more entrepreneurial mindset, where it's like, I want to just better myself, and so it's giving away a lot of information or a lot of, experience that you may have gained over the years, but it's also like, because what you have to offer is valuable, So yeah, pouring back into yourself. I think like the coaching and you can do some of that for free. I think you just exchange time for it. So it's like the value of time versus the value of money. You can go out there and search for all the free demos and videos and stuff, but or you can just pay for the course and learn it quicker.
It's so much easier to procrastinate if you're like, oh, I can just do this for free. I'll watch, YouTube videos, and then I have 2 guys that I meet with. They're still in college. I'm in a school community that I'm paying whatever it is, almost $100 a month to be in, and it's like,
is it for Alex Hormozi or
Nick Herc? So AIS Plus community. And anyway, I'm like, yeah, but it's in the next lesson, instead of having to be like, oh, what video do I have to watch today? It's the next step. And then the community there is amazing. You get 3 experts just answering any question you have. And, people are like, I just, closed a $27,000 deal. And, you look and they joined the community, 6 months ago or something like that. And so there is that energy to it. and I'm trying to get them to join something like that. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you really say you want to do this, like you got just spend money
I
on
think
it.
something that
So
kind of runs through this whole topic is something I've thought a lot about recently, because like I'm new in real estate, and it just amazes me though, because today in our current generation, like for me and for you, one thing that's really struck me is how much you can and really need to learn on your own. Like that's kind of the skill almost, is like teaching yourself how to go out there and find courses or find the information and put it together.
yeah,
Yeah. A lot of it is networking and just finding the
yeah.
resources that are out there, LinkedIn or whatever.
Then
And
implementing it. It's so easy to find it, talk to people, because that feels productive. It's the now what is my daily step that or action that comes out of it. That's the real hard part.
yeah, true. And that's why it's kind of cool to be kind of on the path that you're going on, which is beneficial, that you can kind of allocate your time a little bit to where you can put time into, okay, so today I'm going to schedule, which I mean, anyone can, even if you work a, 9 to 5 job, you can still say, all right, 30 minutes a day, I'm going to read, 30 minutes a day, I'm going to learn, invest in learning this skill, which is going to be really small increments, but consistency, the action, you're like proof stacking, and you're going to learn through that. So that's really cool. There's just so much. It's just almost overwhelming, but it's a good thing, because it's abundance,
Yeah.
that there's so much to
Yes.
learn. And
Yes, and being in that community and on YouTube and things, and just a few weeks ago, just feeling a little guilty because like I've been distracted and I have these 3 different things, and like I haven't progressed as much as I feel like I should have. And I'm like, am I behind? There's so many things, even more that I have to learn. There's more tools, and like now cloud coding, like, and then I talk to people at church or something, and I'm like, and I realize like, nah, I mean, I'm still early. I'm so early to the AI race.
yeah,
And
it's
even this,
well, it's
I
comparison.
think,
Comparison can be like not good, but also like it's like, I don't know, the internal drive to compete with yourself, I think is key. Like it's easy to look at other people and to be like, oh, they're so far ahead of me. Of course they are, but really it's looking at yourself, having the internal motivation to be like, all right, I'm competing with myself, so I want to be, ahead of where I am. That's where I think you can really gain. But yeah, like you said, it's all relative compared to other people.
yes, and like keeping promises that you make to yourself. Find I'm pretty good about keeping promises I make to other people. But for whatever reason, when I'm like, I want to learn this thing, and then I just don't do it. I'm like, what's up with that? Like, either don't make
Mm,
the promise or actually make it a priority, and then that means you have to book time in your calendar and actually do it. So that's something that they're trying to work on. But
mm,
yeah, I think with AI, the only change that's happened this last year is a lot more business owners have now this AI guilt. They feel like they they know AI is powerful. They probably should be using it, but they don't have the time or the know-how to do anything about that. So they have this guilt, like I should be using AI. And that means it's
mm.
still a blue ocean out there. You know, the community I'm part of is well over 3,000 members. And it's like, I don't feel any competition because it's just such a blue ocean. And it's almost even easier now because the business owners are more open to AI. That's pretty much the only requirement I need is that they're pro AI. If they're bullish on AI, then I'm like, let's talk. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where your service can perfectly fit in, because you're providing the kind of the time freedom piece of it, where it's like, hey, I'll go in there and I'll do the audit. I'll come back with the results of what can improve, and then if you want, I can even implement and come up with an action plan for that. That's super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just that's a big part of it. I feel like we're on kind of like the edge of the tidal wave that's coming, however long, probably
It's
shorter
exciting.
than 2 years from now, But yeah, if
Yeah.
you can be
Well,
on the
I
leading
mean,
edge, it is an investment. And it's like, if you it's like anything in the stock market. If you invest early, then you're just going to be ahead. So
Mhm. I remember listening to an cryptocurrency guy. It was a while ago, but he's like, currently globally, I think blockchain technology is a $10 trillion industry or something like that, and in 7 to 8 years, it'll be 100 trillion just based on growth. And that would be a lot driven by AI, because AI is going to need instant payment between different tools and things, and that's what crypto does well. So as AI grows, crypto will also grow. Seven, well, at this point, it'll be 6 or 7 years. It's like that's going up, and that it's going to be a big. I mean, 10 to 100 trillion is it's kind of massive. So
Yeah.
yeah, just being in these different AI, crypto, different things, it's the tide that should raise all the ships. So
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm still in crypto. Because to me, I'm not married and I have some money, so that the money that I'm not putting into education for myself is more or less going into crypto, just because it's an asymmetric bet for me. So I'm like, it could go to zero. That would suck if it goes to zero, but it wouldn't ruin my life if it goes
Yeah.
to zero. There's a chance, and I think it's a good chance, it 10x's or more than that in the next 8 years. And so based off of that, it's an asymmetric bet that I'm willing to take. So most everything is going into learning first. So yeah.
There's like two things you brought up there that I have to jot this down because my brain on Saturday is kind of mush. All right. So the first thing you were mentioning is kind of the you just threw in there like the point that you're not married, which is interesting because talking about all this like hustle culture and like entrepreneurial, there's so much, back and forth on like the work-life balance and stuff. But I think that is a key part of it. One thing that I've been impressed on lately is like you have to like stop and think about your life goals, spiritually, mentally, physically, and what point you're at right now and where you want the trajectory to go, instead of just riding along with, oh, I just worked this job or I want to do this or whatever, and just living life completely in the present, which you should do, but like you should also kind of chart out a little bit with the end in mind. So I think that's key of like I'd be curious to hear your take on this because obviously for me as a Christian, it's like money and work and growth and all that, like that's not the end goal, but I do think that this time in life, that's the way to view it. It's like, okay, family is going to be a priority. Relationships really at the end of the day is what's going to be all that matters by the time we're grandparents, and so thinking in terms of, okay, what do I want to set up for my family? How do I want to provide for them? How do I want to give back to my community? How do I want to be a light for Christ? And then how do you get there? Because I think like early on for us, like in your career or in your life, a lot of the push should be, and everyone's different, but like for me, my push right now is to like boost up in like business and like professionalism and like learn my trade, excel at that, and then, continue with the relationships throughout that and with, hopefully a godly testimony and things. But then at some point when a family comes along, when I'm married, when there's kids, and then as the kids start to get older, which is ironically normally the time that your career is also peaking, is when like the kids are coming and stuff. And then you have to choose between like one or the other. So then it's like, I feel like the work-life balance part of it will be like at that stage and in that chapter, I'll kind of scale back on the work. But it's important for us, I think, at our age to be hustling and to be like working and investing. So that's kind of, yeah, it's important to think about.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like seasons of life is the way I kind of been thinking about it. And like who says there needs to be balance? It's like as long as you have your priorities, and obviously relationship with God is number one. And then like yes, relationships are important, but probably figuring out which ones are the most profitable, most encouraging, that you can encourage, and then yes, blocking out time for that, calling some friends and whatnot. But then outside of that, like you don't need to be let's focus, let's build, because you are going to be in a stage of life eventually, hopefully, or you have kids, and you're like, that's the priority. But if you're like trying to maintain a work-life balance or something, starting from graduation, you'll probably at that stage of life won't be able to maintain it because you're like, I'm behind on work, So right now,
Exactly.
yeah, I want to make a ton of money so that when I'm, if I can get some recurring revenue from this AI thing, build some projects that then spin off, recurring revenue each month that I just have to maintain. That would be awesome in however many years when kids come along. That's a while
Exactly.
off. Yeah. So
May not be
yeah.
too. Yeah.
We don't know. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I like the way that you frame that. Yeah, it's like not necessarily a balance, but it's like, what are your priorities now? And like clarifying that, writing down like, what is my goal? What is my mission? And that's going to
Mission and
change
vision
throughout the
statement.
seasons.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that as time goes on, yeah, if you live kind of obsessed for work now, in a sense, then you can actually have more time devoted to family later. Whereas if you just kind of slack off right now, then years later you won't be able to invest, and so that's out of balance. And so yeah, it's more so what your priorities are and like outlining those. What are like some things outside of work, like kind of in this conversation, this vein of thought, that like excite you right now, or like that you're prioritizing? Or is it mostly like things that are also going to kind of develop and pour back into who you are? And
So Christian Ambition, my podcast, that's kind of my main hobby now. It's surprising how much time podcasts can take, as I'm sure you know.
well, you're actually putting a lot more into it, I feel like, because like to actually have guests on and like plan that, like that takes a lot more even intention. And like I love the goal of Ken Ham on the Arc. Have you met Ken Ham?
I shook his hand, yes.
Okay. I love that goal.
Yeah. I don't know if you know the podcast Modern Wisdom. Yep. And so I don't know if you saw his like 1,000th episode or some of his more recent ones. He'll build out whole sets, and it's high quality production value. It's amazing, and that's the idea. Something that could go viral, and like doing it on top of the arc, like a whole set. I'm like that
would be great.
That would be awesome. And
yeah.
And so I already have the connection. On Cody Lutz.
Yeah. Dude, I love his workout sheds.
Yes,
One day I'm gonna get one of those. Do you know him personally?
Yeah. So he's my personal coach.
Did he go to Bob Jones or?
No, no, not Bob Jones.
Is he from that area? I forget where.
Tennessee. He's in Tennessee.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, kind of right in the middle of things. Great guy.
I love that guy. Yeah, he's a good follow.
No, so he's my personal coach. The last 3 months of 2025, we were meeting one-on-one virtually, and that just helped because that's when I moved out, was end of September, and just really getting things moving. That's why I started the podcast and the AI automation agency at pretty much the same time, because it was like one of his sayings is action creates insight more than insight creates action. And that's where I was waiting for confidence, and I was trying to build confidence from just looking for insight. But confidence comes from action. And so you have to act before you have the confidence in a way
good.
To actually build it. And so he's helped a lot. And so I'm part of a group coaching now with him. So there's, I don't know, 4 to 8 guys usually join the calls, and it's really good. I mean, it's always open. If you wanted to, you can always reach out to him and find out more.
Yeah.
Something you're interested in.
That's something on my radar for I like that about the insight and action, because there's a couple things kind of in the works for this year that I'm not going to say yet because it's not like public information, but hopefully some, like, I'll post about it on LinkedIn if everything kind of works out and stuff. So I kind of feel that, because right now I'm in the like almost planning stage and like studying, analyzing, and it's like there's only so much you can do until you like step out. It's like
Yes.
once you do
Oh,
that, then it's like
all of a sudden things I like for the podcast, for instance, I've been thinking about that for at least a year, if not more. Funny enough, I bought these mics, DJI mics, I don't know, a year and a half ago, never used them. Like never used them until just, a few times recently. Cause I was
nice.
like, well, I need the equipment. And then it's like, and that's
Dude,
again,
planning.
that's just like,
It's planning.
I need the confidence. So I need the right equipment. It just never happened. And finally I'm like, just start it. And it felt way easier. Like after I started this, I'm like, things just like kind of come together. And once you just like tell people like, oh yeah, I'm starting an AI agency. Or like, oh, that's awesome. I know a guy. Boom, boom, boom. And they're like, all of a sudden things kind of fall into place. And it's like, yeah, things.
Yeah. And you're
It-
always
it
going to be
really-
learning as
yeah.
you go. It's like sometimes you feel the pressure of like, I got to get it perfect. Like when my first video, my first post or whatever has to be perfect. But it's like, okay, who are we kidding? Because like no one out there is perfect. And actually, I'd rather listen to someone who's genuine about like, okay, I'm just trying to learn this as I go. And like, we're all trying to figure it out. So it's like, just document the journey, just share what you're, learning as you go. And that's going to be, I think, super valuable to other people. Like I read somewhere where it's like, you don't want a post or like a story or like a conversation to end with like the other person feeling like totally just like they're doing it wrong, like they're incompetent, like they're inept. Like that's not the point of conversations. It's like to build myself up, like, look at how perfect I am. So like go out there and try to do what I'm doing. That's not helpful. So it's like if you're just more sharing, like, this is what I'm learning, this is how I'm viewing things. And like 2 months down the road, it could be totally different. I could be, go back on what I said now, but it's like we're all just learning as we go. So I like that mindset.
No, yeah. And as far as other things that I'm doing, running every day. So I've a running goal, 10K in under 40 minutes, which is actually insane because
Wow.
I'm not a runner, but I was told by my latest podcast guest, and he's like, you can't be saying that. You have to say that I am a runner. So
That's your first mistake.
I am a runner. I'm not a great one.
You've
but
got to
I'm working on
identify
it.
as a winner.
I don't know if you know who Jesse Itzler is. He's a big entrepreneur. What's his name? David Goggins lived with him for a month. He wrote a book about it. It's pretty crazy. I don't know if you know who David Goggins is.
I've heard the name. I don't
Navy SEAL. He's
okay.
Motivation, all that stuff. Anyway, he has this. Jesse Itzler has this thing called Masogi. I think it's a Japanese term for a year-defining goal, and the idea is it should be hard enough to where there's only a 50% chance that you will succeed. There should be a 50% chance that you'll fail. And so that's kind of my Masogi for the year that I'm working towards. And it's going to be hard. But the idea is how many years have in the past do you like what happened in 2017? I'm like, I could look at photos and figure that out, but I don't have that one thing. And like he's had for the last 20 years, something is like, oh, 2017, I did this, that was my big thing. And yeah, I'm like, that's actually pretty cool. So that's a big thing that I'm working on. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So much wisdom.
What about you? What are you working on outside of real estate and stuff?
I would say something physical too. Like lately I've been trying to get into like a little bit of boxing, like, and again, I don't consider myself a boxer, but that's, trying to work on that. But I just find that like it could be anything, running. Like up here we're kind of locked indoors for like 7 months out of the year because it's frozen, but anything that you can do physical, I think just really helps kind of everything else. Like I was listening to a guy recently and he said like his number one like habit that he wouldn't change is like workout, and it's like obviously outside of spiritual things and the spiritual foundation, like doing something physical really just helps like mentally. Another thing is like trying to get more sleep, which is underrated. And I feel like, in our culture, lack of sleep is celebrated and it's like a badge of honor.
Yes. In
But
the whole
it's like,
productivity, yeah, 100%. It's like, no.
well, yeah, because it's like productivity is not the amount of hours. Like it's not quantity, it's quality, or it should be quality, not quantity. And it's like even throughout this conversation, like right now I'm pretty tired because like throughout this conversation I've had to pause a couple times to kind of like search for words and stuff. But it's like the more sleep you get, the more your brain is just like flowing smoothly. Like someone that I really respect, I'm sure you know of Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
And so I've actually gotten a couple of his books lately, and that's a big thing that he was very into, like getting a lot of sleep. And I mean, you look at like what he accomplished. Even there's a book that I'm reading now, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and he just mentions like back before Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, people got an average of like 11 hours of sleep at night. It's like 11 hours of sleep. But think of what they did. Like these people didn't have computers, they didn't have typewriters. They wrote volumes of books. You know, they studied, they would get up, go to the library, whatever. Like some of these people, they translated the King James Version. I mean, it's like a lot of these people that were scholars and sharp, could speak 9 different languages or whatever, like traveled the world as diplomats. The things that these people accomplished, it's like technology, yeah, if you use it properly, it can enhance, but
Yeah.
also you have to like take care of yourself physically is a big takeaway from that. So that physically, but then also like reading, I'm trying, which I don't do it as much as I'd like to, of reading just on things like,
Same here.
and I feel like we talked about this last time, but it's like there's just so much to learn, like that can sharpen you just on every level, like from reading about communication, reading about just like being disciplined, some like self-development or like motivational books, reading biographies of people. Something I would love to get more into is like just reading about economics, like learning more about markets, like economic theory, and like just simple things like supply and demand. I mean, that would help from a business perspective, from like a real estate perspective, you know, just for sales or anything. It's like just understanding that. And there's just like a whole wealth, there's like a whole library you could go through of like economics. And then it's like, okay, then politics and like how certain acts in history and like since the 60s or whatever have like developed into wokeness and what America is going through now, and like how do we combat that, and like what are the political stands we should take, and like it's just so much, you know. So like I'd love to do more reading, and I feel like that's a big part of just like personal development. Like the people that read are, you learn so much. It's a discipline, but it's also educational and it's developmental and meditating on things. But so those are two big ones physically.
Yeah. You know, so the podcast I just recorded, it's going to come out on Wednesday. Dr. Weathers, he's great, and one of his sayings is, well, it's probably not the saying that's been around for a while, no doubt, but you know, leaders are readers, and so read a lot. And also he ran 4 Ironman distance triathlons in 4 days to raise $1 million. And so
I've seen those.
He's a pretty cool guy. And anyway,
Wow.
so listen to that podcast when it comes out, because he talks about his whole daily routine, and also why he does, you know, working out, and it's the whole energy thing and getting good sleep. He said one time, he's like, sometimes he's so excited for tomorrow's workout that he can't get to sleep.
That's crazy.
He's like, you know, it does so many great things for him. And so anyway,
he's got like all those things.
Yeah.
He's got the sleep, the workout, and the reading. That's awesome. Normally you don't find people who have like the balance of.
Yeah, and I ask about balance, and I ask about like, well, is this boring to you? And a lot of those kind of questions, and he had some good answers. So
yeah, I'll have to give that a listen. It's like I heard someone say that the reward for meaningful work is more meaningful work. It's like once you find joy in what you're doing, you just want to do more of it, and then you get better and more efficient at it. It's like you can apply that to workout, reading, learning AI, just everything. It just becomes more meaningful. Oh, I was just gonna say another thing that just kind of came across my mind because I need to do my finances today is like financially, like people in our generation, like especially working at a bank, man, you see people that come in there and they cannot get a loan, and they may have had their job for like 10 years, and they're like making a good salary. Like, I mean, yeah, there's people that I've seen that are making like so much money, but their bank account is like $14. And it's like, well, you can't buy a house because you have no down payment. It's like, unless you got into one of these special programs, but then they're gonna nitpick the house and it has to be like perfect quality house, and then you still don't you couldn't get that because you make too much income to be
Mhm.
accepted into that program. So it's like, man, people really, mess themselves up financially with all these credit cards and stuff. So like that's kind of an unsung goal too. It's not glamorous or flashy, but like literally just like trying to be debt free, trying to save as much as possible, especially like if you're at the stage of launching a business and like trying to give yourself a little bit of runway. And even if you're pouring a lot of that savings back into
Yeah.
educating yourself, it's still kind of investing in the business. So like investing in saving, that's a big one.
Yep. Are you anti credit?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay.
I mean, if I were that extreme, there's people that are like anti-banks, and I work at a bank. Some people are like, don't get
Yeah.
loans, but like, yeah. So I feel like credit cards. I guess my take on it is like, you can use it. I guess there's a moral argument that like credit cards are, you can profit off of other people's bad choices, which I can see that. But like, you get credit card points, so you can actually earn cash back. So if you spend on a credit card, for one thing, it's safer because it's harder for fraud to actually drain your
Yep.
bank account, because they could get in there and make charges, but then that's not directly coming out of your bank account. So people that use debit
Mhm.
cards, that's actually risky. But then also like you can get points, you can actually save and be thrifty that way. So I'm a fan of them. Not like 19 of
Yeah.
them,
I
but like if you have like 3 or 4.
exactly get a category card. One that gives you 3% on gas, and you just use it for gas, and grocery. Conquer those main goals. No, I see it as a game. It's like if you approach it as a game, I'm gonna follow the rules of the game. And I'm gonna win. That's the way you approach credit cards. Then you'll do well. And the number one rule is pay it off on time every single time. The
Yeah.
number one
Yeah.
rule. Like you cannot break that rule.
But even for
So
people that like, even if people get in trouble and they go through a couple years of like horrible spending, and so they have like a credit card balance of like 15,000 or whatever. Yeah, you're paying like 30% interest on that. So at that point, it's actually smart for, in some cases, to refinance, to try to consolidate debt, because some people will have like a house payment, they'll have a car payment, they'll have, 5 credit cards. And so it's like if you actually redid your mortgage, in some cases, it's not perfect every time, but like if you redid your mortgage, rolled in the car payment, paid off the credit card, so you're taking some equity out, you might have a bigger loan for your house payment, but then you have one payment, your mortgage is probably at like 7% or whatever. So you're saving like 20% on interest that you would be paying. And then you don't
yeah.
have to worry about all these payments, and like just pay the credit cards up. And then from that point, yeah, then pay them off every time. So it's like there's ways to try to recover.
There are ways, but it's like, are the people who get themselves in that situation gonna stick to something like that?
Right.
That's
They come
debatable.
in
That's
and
the tough
sell
part.
it. They're like, I can do this. And it's like, well, based on your history, what's going to change from your behavior? It's all about people's behavior.
That's where you cut them up. That's where you cut them up. Yeah, refinance and then throw away the credit cards because the points are not going to take you out of the hole.
But I got a
Yeah.
million points.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, but credit cards, yeah, someone else. But
do you
yep.
do much socially in your area? Like, do you have like a group of guys or friends locally that you kind of get encouragement from and stuff?
It's more individual, just trying to hit up different friends at different times and whatnot. So it isn't like there's a specific group that we meet regularly or anything like that, which is something I definitely want to start or to find. So it's something I'm still looking for exactly.
Yeah,
But
that's good though, about like being able to have kind of some guys that you like. Up here, there aren't like a ton of Christians up here. There's a couple of
mm,
guys at work that like it's encouraging to like meet up with on
mm,
occasional lunch breaks and stuff. But there's just one
yeah,
guy that every other week we get lunch, which is good. And then like phone calls like this, like a lot of my friends from college are like across the country or back in Florida or
yeah.
whatever. And so that's a good time. And I honestly, that's something I have as a goal, is trying to be more intentional about, is like regular calls with friends and stuff, because time can slip by and it's
Gotta be
super easy to get
intentional.
busy.
Oh yeah. It it's always those sad stories of, you know, oh yeah, friends from college, haven't talked to them in a decade. I'm like, okay, so that's, I'm only 9 months out and I'm trying to be intentional. You kind of have to focus on certain people just because I think it's, go deep instead of go wide at this point. But
For sure. Yeah, that's good.
yeah. No, I would strong I would say reach out to Cody, at least talk to him,
I
and
have
then
messaged him a
if
time or two. He sent me,
yeah,
I forget what it was. It was a while back, but he sent me a guide or something he'd written. It's cool to follow him because he talked about like
it's always
part of the
fun.
Alex Hormozy book launch, and he actually, I think, because I got one of those, one of his latest book, 200 money models, $200 million
Money
money models,
models,
I think it was. Yeah.
100 million, but
Or
yeah.
okay, close enough. Yeah, I'm sure, give him a couple months. And, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did get that, and I think I got it through Cody actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. 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 And it's coaching, group coaching would be helpful. I don't know, like with your real estate stuff or just, you know, other solid Christian guys
yeah,
bi-monthly or bi-weekly, I guess, every 2 weeks. So we have a call and it's good. So
yeah. No, that's
anyway,
good. I
it's
feel
just something to
like,
think about.
well, the vein of like Christian entrepreneurship, like that's definitely kind of like the group that I feel like I follow the most, and like I feel like that's where we have the most similarity. And like even your podcast, it's kind of
That's
merging both
that's
of
that's
those.
the entire purpose because just yeah, I'm like, where do I look when I'm trying to find ambition? And if you look on the podcasts, the social medias, it's a whole bunch of worldly ambition. Like, feel this, like, where are the Christian examples? Luckily enough, I've been able to meet a few, but they're not on the Joe Rogan or Modern Wisdom podcasts. So I'm like, well, I kind of like having these conversations. So there's a selfish reason, and I want to talk to these people. I want to network with them, etc. But also, I want to help me 2 or 3 years ago and like have
Hmm.
these conversations with people. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the whole idea behind Christian ambitions.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it hits that sweet spot. Cause like, I mean, there's some, I guess, out there who view like even ambition as being kind of contrary to Christian.
Mm, yes.
Um, and I can see that like yeah, if your goal is worldly ambition, if you're chasing money just for the sake of money, obviously that's not what we're made for. That's not going to provide satisfaction. At the end of your life, you're just going to be filled
Yeah.
with regret of missing the actual point. But if you're striving to build something, to be creative, to really further your reach as a person, as a Christian, and that's like interwoven in who you are,
Mhm.
and you're doing it for causes like to give to people, to have an impact in your community, to provide for your family, to build a heritage to hand down to your children. I think those are all the right reasons. So I think it kind of is a little bit more nuanced, and like, what are you
Mhm.
pursuing? What are you actually trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%.
No matter where you find this Christian Ambition podcast, if you get anything out of this, anything at all, please like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a review.